Out of the numerous issues I have with MMA fans, the biggest of all is the notion that we have to protect the integrity of the sport. Basketball fans do not have to protect the integrity of basketball. Football fans do not have to protect the integrity of football, American football, I'm speaking of right now. It's getting old. I don't understand why people do it. We we can pretend that MMA is this very small niche sport that it was in even 2004, as early as that. But it's not anymore. It's a global phenomenon now. It's on Fox. It's on pay-per-view. Everybody knows at the very least what UFC is. They have an idea of what the UFC is when they see it on television or the internet or an ad for it. No one is ignorant and has no earthly idea what mixed martial arts is. It's a commodity at this point. It's a machine that keeps itself going, and we must stop pretending that it's holier than thou and anything we do can protect its integrity. I bring this up because there's a lot of people that's mad about CM Punk receiving another fight in the UFC, probably against Mike Jackson, who, if you don't, if you guys don't know, Mike Jackson is an MMA reporter, journalist who also fights, sort of green lights as a pro fighter. He fought in the UFC against Mickey Gall. I believe he was like 1-1 or 0-1 or something like that when he fought Mickey Gall and was defeated. And Punk went on and lost to Mickey Gall. And I see this fight's announced. I don't understand the dislike, and people are saying things like it hurts the integrity of the sport. UFC is supposed to be for the best. I pose to you this counter question. How can we truly say that MMA is a sport for the best fighters in the world when there's no tournament? When the rankings were only created as a way to appease the audiences of the Fox crowd. For those of you that don't understand, there were no UFC rankings officially until the UFC got on Fox, and that was only for the pundits and talking heads on Fox to hype up title fights. And if you remember correctly, if anyone can spot me on this and say that I'm wrong, please do. But the way I remember it, for at least the first two or three cards, those rankings only showed up on Fox. They're not real. They don't mean anything. They're just for show. You have guys who are coming off of two losses receiving title shots. You have guys coming off of one win when they've lost back-to-back fights getting title shots. You have fighters getting title shots off of no wins and weight classes never fought in. You have champions testing positive for steroids. You have champions having to relinquish their titles because they tested positive for banned substances and multiple offenses. Not to mention hitting pregnant ladies, drug use, being arrested. This is all John Jones at 205. And champions missing weight, title fights being in question because a multitude of things. Fights getting canceled, weight cuts going off, ruining entire main events. And you have an issue with CM Punk fighting in the UFC. At the end of the day, the only thing that matters is asses and seats and pay-per-views being bought. The best fight on the card is the fight that garners the most attention. Why is that the best fight on the card? Because that is the fight that allows the pay-per-view, the machine, the program to continue running. That is why that's important. The only thing that matters in a sport like MMA, that no matter what you believe to be true, this is the fact, it is profit-driven. The only thing that matters in MMA is the promoter being able to promote that card to the best of his ability to get the most eyes on that product and the most people wanting to watch that product. That is the only thing that matters in mixed martial arts. It doesn't matter who your favorite fighter is if nobody knows they exist. For all intents and purposes, Conor McGregor is the best fighter in the UFC because he's the most effective fighter at getting eyes to watch him. You may go, well, that's not the most exciting, or that's not my favorite, or he can't beat this guy, he can't beat that guy. That doesn't matter who he can beat. All that matters is that people watch. And you may be thinking, I'm not entertained by this, I don't like it. Well, a lot of people are. MMA as a whole is no longer about honor, integrity, the Bushido spirit. None of that stuff matters. That stuff stopped mattering the moment they signed that dotted line on that fight contract to go and fight in a cage for money. The moment they said, I want to go fight for money, and they signed that contract with the Athletic Commission and the UFC's promoter's license, whatever they had to sign in the UFC, whatever, that went away. Because they are no longer martial artists, they are entertainers. If nobody buys tickets to the next Patriots game, they're still going to play, they're still going to be on TV, and if no one watches it, it doesn't matter. It's still going to happen. The game is still going to take place. If nobody buys tickets for the next UFC event, it will be canceled. It will be buried in the back of our brains. It will never be spoken of again, at least by the corporation. Because MMA does not work the same way as normal sports, and I think as fans, we must stop holding it to that extent like it does. They're not the same. MMA is sports entertainment. MMA, especially UFC specifically, has more in common with Vince McMahon's WWE than it does with the other major sports, soccer, football, basketball, hockey that we see. It is a cousin to typical team sports, but it's a blood relative, a brother-sister relationship with professional wrestling. Whether we're talking its success, the reason it got big in the first place, so many crossover stars. The biggest stars in MMA are crossover stars from professional wrestling. One way or another, whether we're talking Ronda Rousey, Brock Lesnar, these are people who, at the very least, had ties to WWE, other things before. They're closer related than we like to realize, and we must accept that it's an entertainment-based organization first, competition second. The undercard of a fight card is to build talent and build future stars. Which brings me to my next point. There are people complaining that tonight's card is at UFC 221 in Perth, Australia. Features many fighters making their UFC debut with horrible records. The card's in Perth, Australia. The main event fell through multiple times in one way or another. Yoel Romero missed weight. That's not going to happen for the title against Luke Rockhold, which is an interim title to begin with. Which that title only exists because Michael Bisping lost to George St. Pierre, and St. Pierre relinquished the belt, okay? Which even created the need for an interim title to begin with. The fact that Michael Bisping received that title shot originally because, who was it, who got hurt? I don't remember. It was Luke Rockhold was scheduled to fight Chris Weidman, and Chris Weidman was hurt. So Michael Bisping got the shot, who wasn't, I don't think he was top 5. He might have been, he just came up with over Anderson Silva, so he might have cracked the top 5 at the time. I don't remember. Knocked out Luke Rockhold. You can call it a fluke. Would it happen a second time? Maybe not. But he won. He fought Dan Henderson, who I don't think even was ranked in top 5 himself either. Sat out for a year for injuries, then lost to George St. Pierre, who had never fought at middleweight his entire career. Then St. Pierre relinquished the title. All of these events, which, if we're going to be fair, that's 2 freak show fights, 1 late replacement, threw off the entire kilter of the UFC middleweight division, which brought us here to begin with. And people are complaining that you have guys on the card, which, once again, this card is a local card that is made for the local audience. If you've never been to a regional show, you don't understand that. But people go to these shows to see people that they know. And I think it should be more common. I think undercards should always be regional talent locally. That's what I think. I'm sort of kind of going all over the place with this, but I'm going to wrap this up. The UFC is sports entertainment. It is not NFL. It is not NBA. It is WWE with results that we don't know are going to happen yet.